and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 pens currently inked up this week. So I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have the Opus 88 Collaro Demonstrator. We have a Molteni model or Modello 55S in the royal blue Lucens. We have a Twiss Volcano. We have a London pen company, and this is in Erinoid Caramel. We have a Scribo fill in the black blue. We have a Delta Federico. We have an Omas Melord, and this is in the wild side. We have an Atelier Lusso Carina in the black ice Aluminite. We have an Atelier Lusso Carina. This is in the Gravity. And then we have a Santini Libra in the Ambra. So I think let's take a look at these pens in a little bit more detail here. So this is an Opus 88 Collaro Demonstrator. And this I have had inked up for well over a year. And I just found it in my pen drawer as I was trying to make way, strangely enough, for some more pens. And I looked at this and I thought, oops, this has been inked up for over a year and I have not cleaned this out. So this is unfortunately a bit of a mess. You can see here the cap, that really does need some cleaning. I will try to remove those clips and see, I don't know if I can actually, yeah, I can unscrew that clip there. So I think I will look at trying to remove and clean that out. You can see here there's a lot of ink sort of around the section, inner section there. Now, I'm not 100% sure what ink this is. I'm pretty sure this is Parker Quink Blue, but I'm not 100% sure. And the reason why I had this inked up is I did, and it's very difficult to see here, but I did a grind here on this nib, and this is an architect grind. And the one thing I love about these Opus 88s is that they are eyedropper pens, so they hold a huge amount of ink. And I've left that inked up for a whole year, and it's still there. I didn't realise I still had this one inked up. That has a broad steel nib on it. The next pen I have inked up this week is a Molteni, and this is Modello 55S. This is number 25 of a 70 limited edition run, and I love this. It's the blue Lucens material here from Omas, and also the royal blue material, celluloid material that Omas used to use. So I just find that this is a really lovely pen. And this has a medium 18 karat gold nib there, and I just love it. It's a really nice pen. So I have that pen inked up this week as well. I also have this one inked up, and this is a Twiss Pens or Twiss Volcano. And I remember buying this, wow, it must have been 2 years ago now. Yeah, 2019. It was the Northern Pen Show, and this was a pen that Twiss had on display with a number of other pens. And I remember saying to a friend at the time that if this pen was available at the end of the show, then I might make John an offer for this pen, and he accepted. It was still there. It was still available. I've got a broad steel nib there from Twiss. This nib actually wrote quite dry, and I have flossed the tines a bit to make it write a bit wetter. I like this. This is an Aluminite pen. It's not just a standard resin, and you can kind of see there the difference. It's really got a lot of chatoyance going on in this material, and it's a pen that I like a lot. I like the material. I like the colours in it. I only wish that it was a little bit longer. I tend to prefer longer pens, like the Molteni, just a tad longer. But it's a pen that I do like writing with, so I decided to ink that one up this week. I also have this pen, and this is a pen from Sean at the London Pen Company in Canada. And this is really a really nice material. It's a Erinoid material, and it's called the Caramel, and I think you can see why. It's just a beautiful, beautiful pattern, and really, really nice. Sean does some very, very good work. These pens are polished highly. You can just see the amount of quality that goes into these. I have a broad nib on that one. It's a steel nib, a Yovo nib. It's got an ebonite section, so it's not a resin. But I don't know. I'm at a mix with ebonite sections. I tend to find, strangely enough, that they tend to be a little bit more less grippy for me than a sort of resin or sort of Erinoid feeling. But I know a lot of people like ebonite sections. I think you can get these from Sean with a resin section as well, if I'm not mistaken. But that is a lovely pen, and I decided to ink that one up this week as well. The next pen I have inked up is this one. It's a Scribo feel, and this is in the blue black, and it is a very, very dark blue. You might be able to see here, if I shine the light off of it, that it has a blue tinge to it, but it almost, in most light, looks like a black pen. This has a 14 karat gold medium flex nib on, and I love how these write. They write very, very well. I typically don't ink this one up a lot because I typically associate it as a black pen, and I really don't ink up a lot of black pens. I think maybe some of the exceptions are things like these wilds, and at that point I do ink them up. But this I don't ink up as much as I should, and I've deliberated long and hard on whether or not to sell this pen because I do like Scribos and I love how this nib writes. It's just I don't write enough with it. I think I need to probably associate this more as a blue pen and start putting in some lighter blues. So I have got a lighter blue inked up in this today. So I think we will see how that writes and how that works out. I then have this one inked up, and this was a pen, a very dear friend, Mishka, who she's Polish, she used to live in the UK, and she used to come to the London Pen Club, and she then emigrated to Canada, and she had to, unfortunately, sell off a lot of pens and inks and let them go, and she sent me a message one day and said, I have this really nice pen that I think you will be interested in. And immediately I said, okay, what kind of pen? Because she knew that I had been after some Federicos before, all these Stantufos. And she sent me some pictures of this, and I really liked it. I wasn't that enamored with the white sort of cap and end knob here, but I was really previously after ones with black. But I actually love this more. This comes with an 18 karat gold nib, and it's a broad nib, and it is a broad nib. If you look at that nib, the tip of the tines there, that is like a 1.3 millimeter stub nib almost. It really is a nice pen. Now, it does have a few issues with threads locking, and you do have to get the right thread there. But I got that for a very good price, and I know she picked it up for a very good price as well at an auction. So I like that pen. I just do find sometimes it's a little bit more broader at the moment for me because I'm not really using that many broad nibs, but I honestly need to get over that, and I need to get back into more broader nibs and stub nibs because I used to love writing with them, and I still do. It's just that I find I don't write with them as much because I tend to be writing more in notebooks, and I just find that it takes a much longer for the ink to dry before I can turn the page. So I tend to typically not be writing with them as much as I used to. I think previously I used to just write letters more, and it was on loose leaf pages, or pages that I could tear off of maybe a Rhodia notebook, and that's where I would be using the stubs a lot more. I also have this one inked up, and this is an Omas Melord, and I was really glad that I was able to pick this up, although strangely enough I actually purchased it from a seller on eBay, and the pen arrived and I went to unscrew the piston here because it's a piston filling pen, and then the whole piston started to come out, and I sent him a message and said, look, it's broke, can you, like, what do we do here? And he immediately offered me a refund. I then managed to actually fix the piston, and I went back to him and said, look, I have managed to fix the piston on here. It is working now. Can we sort some funds out? And I sent him the funds. So this has a medium nib on here, and this is a really lovely, I think it's medium. Let me just, yeah, it's a medium nib. You can see there. But this is a lovely nib. It writes really well. And that once I started to actually put the piston back together and actually make sure it didn't come loose again, and started writing with that pen, it was amazing. So I'm glad that I picked that one up when I did, and I got that for a brilliant price as well. And then we have this one, and this is a pen that I commissioned from Eric at Atelier Lusso, and this is a Black Ice Aluminite. Now, I don't know if I've actually told this story before, but I was actually after a pine cone blend with resin material, and I really liked the look of it. It wasn't this pen or this material, and I showed Eric, and he said, we could try it if you want, but he said that he's had a lot of issues with a lot of these sort of pine mix resins where they just disintegrate, and they need a lot of support inside the barrel. So he said that we could try it if you want, or we could find another material that's similar. And I said, well, look, I don't want to cause you any stress, so I'm happy to look at something else. I'll go by with whatever you recommend. And between us, we started looking at some material, and then he came up with this material, and he said it's an Aluminite, and so it's a blender of resin, but it's got some like metal chips inside the body there. And he said this looks very similar, and it did. It actually looked not that dissimilar to the material that I picked out, and I loved the look of it. And I said, yeah, let's get this, let's buy this. So he made this, and this was when he was making the L for Lusso on the cap finials. He just started making cap finials at that point. He's now switched to dragons. I think it may have gone through several iterations of the dragon now. But this is really, really beautiful. I love it. It's a beautiful pen. All of the Atelier Lussos I have a broad nib. It's a Yovo steel nib. But I just love this pen. And it's called the Black Ice Aluminite. And I've never actually inked it up with a black ink. I probably should. I tend to ink it up with more pastel colour inks. So I have that one inked up with me this week. And then I have this one, and this is another Atelier Lusso, and this was the first pen that I got from him. This is a lovely gravity style pen, water sort of swirly pen here. And this is really, really nice, and I absolutely love it. It's a beautiful mix. And this does have a lot of threads on it, but it does have a broad steel nib there. I just love this. It's almost like an inky water swirl going on. And this is what really started me off with Eric. He had this pen already available. As you can see, there is a lot of screw threads there. But he had this available, and I decided that I would buy it there and then. So I have that one inked up with me today as well. And then finally we have this beautiful cracked ice Ambra, and this is a Santini Italia Libra in the Ambra, and this is using a Conway Stewart cracked ice material. It is really, really stunning, and I love this material a lot. It has an 18 karat gold, and that's a medium flexi nib. But you'll see here, this is a beautiful material. It has an ebonite feed, and I do love this. You might be able to see here that that cap is quite sort of transparent there, or translucent. It really is quite see-through. So this is a beautiful pen, and I have that one inked up with me this week as well. So I think with that, let's go and do a writing sample. So the first pen is an Opus 88 Collaro Demonstrator. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now, this, I'm pretty sure, is inked up with Parker Quink Blue, although I can't be 100% sure, and I didn't want to empty it out and then re-ink it up. So this is an Opus 88 Collaro Demonstrator. Now, this actually has basically a architect nib, or a Naginata Togi nib. So this is an architect nib, and it's a broad nib. So it's really a broad architect nib, and it's a steel nib. And an architect nib is basically giving more line variation on the horizontals than the downstrokes. So the opposite to what maybe a stub nib would be. So this is, I'm pretty sure, inked up with Parker Quink Blue. But this was a nib that I ground myself, and I really do love how it writes. The next pen is the lovely Molteni Modello 55S in the royal blue Lucens. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is a very nice writing nib. It's one that I like writing with a lot. I find it has a slight sort of architect tendency to the nib when I write with it. Not massively though, not like this one, but still it does have some architectness going on there. So this is the Molteni Modello 55S, and it's in the royal blue Lucens. And it is a medium, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And the ink in here is KWZ, and it's Gummy Berry. And this is starting to feather a little bit on this paper. This is Oxford Optic paper, and I think this paper did actually have some water residue on the paper, and it has since dried. So I think that is starting to cause a little bit of feathering here and there. So we might actually see this paper feather a little bit more. I didn't want to actually chuck the whole notebook. I thought that was a bit of a blasphemous if I were to. So I decided I would try and continue using this notebook or notepad. The next pen inked up is the John Twiss, and this is the Volcano. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now this is a broad nib, and you can see here that this is putting down quite a broad line. It's a steel nib as well. So this is the John Twiss or Twiss pens, and this is the Volcano. Ooh, Volcano. There you go. and it's a broad steel nib, and the ink in here is KWZ, and it's Thief's Red, which is a really nice red ink. Very punchy red ink. The next pen is the London Pen Company, and this is the Christopher in Erinoid Caramel. So we'll do an ink swatch. And you can see here, this is quite a nice colour ink. So this is the London Pen Company, and it's called the Christopher. And it's in an Erinoid Caramel, but I'm going to leave that out. So this is a broad steel nib. And then the ink in here is Pilot, Iroshizuku, and it's Inner Ho, which for me is a really lovely brown ink. It's got a little bit of green tendency to the ink, but it's an ink that I like a lot. The next pen is a Scribo fill in the blue-black. So let's do a ink swatch here. And I mentioned that I was going to put a lighter blue in this pen, and I have done. And I think that's what I need to do to write with this pen more, is associate it more with a blue ink than a black ink. Because I don't normally write with black inks, or in a lot of cases black pens. So this is a Scribo fill in the blue-black. And it's a medium, and it's a 14 cat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Pelican, Edelstein, and it is Topaz, which is a really lovely blue ink. The next pen is a Delta Federico. We'll do an ink swatch here. And this is quite a lovely colour ink. You can see this is a bit of a border nib. So this is, we just take a look at that, yes. This is a Delta Federico, and this is a broad, and it's, I'd say it's a, I think it's an 18 karat gold nib. Yeah, it's an 18 karat gold nib. I was just wondering if that might have been a 14 karat gold, but no, it's definitely 18. And then the ink in here is Diamine, and it's Peach Haze, which is a lovely sort of peachy colour ink. The next pen is this beautiful Omas Melord in the wild. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now this is quite a wet writing nib, and you'll see that there from the ink swatch. So this is an Omas Melord, and it's in the beautiful, lovely sort of cracked ice sort of effect going on here. So this is what they call the wild, and it's a medium, and it's an 18 karat gold nib, and the ink in here is Lamy Black, which for me is a beautiful black ink, and one that I need to use a lot more. The next pen I have inked up is an Atelier Lusso Carina in the Black Ice Aluminite. So we'll do an ink swatch here. This is another broad nib pen. So this is an Atelier Lusso Carina in the Black Ice. And it's a broad steel nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine Coral, which is another beautiful pastel coloured ink. A little bit similar to Peach Haze. The next pen is an Atelier Lusso Carina, and this is in the Gravity. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this again is another broad nib. And you can see it's fairly wet there, but not too wet. So this is an Atelier Lusso Carina. And this is in the Gravity, not Galaxy. For some reason I keep wanting to call this Galaxy. I don't know why. It's a Gravity. And this is a broad steel nib. And then the ink in here is Akamon. And it's Binnenhof Blues. Oops. I can spell correctly. And then the final pen inked up this week is a Santini Libra. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now this is a wet nib, it's a medium nib. And you can see that's fairly wet, but it's not very broad of a nib. So this is a Santini Libra in the Ambra. It is a medium though, and it's the flexi nib. It's a, when I say flexi, you can see the kind of flex I can get out of this nib. So this is an 18 karat gold nib. And the ink in here is Diamine Ochre. But you can really see the flex I can get out of this nib. It is quite a flexy nib, but not a true like vintage flex. So I think let's take a look at these pens inked up one more time. So we have an Opus 88 Collaro Demonstrator in a broad architect nib. It's a steel nib inked up with Parker Quink Blue. We have a Molteni Modello 55S in the Royal Blue Lucens in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with KWZ Gummy Berry. We have a Twiss Pens Volcano in a broad steel nib inked up with KWZ Thief's Red. We have a London pen company, the Christopher, in Erinoid Caramel with a broad steel nib inked up with Pilot Iroshizuku in a Ho. We have a Scribo Fill in a blue-black in a medium 14 karat gold nib inked up with Pelican, Edelstein, Topaz. We have a Delta Federico in a broad 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Peach Haze. We have an Omas Melord in a wild in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Lamy Black. We have an Atelier Lusso Carina Black Ice in a broad steel nib inked up with Diamine Coral. We have an Atelier Lusso Carina Gravity in a broad steel nib inked up with Akamon Binnenhof Blues. And then we have a Santini Libra in the Ambra with a medium flexi nib. It's an 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Ochre. So there you have it. That's my currently inked pens for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.